Hello and good evening. It is Thursday, October 14th, 2021, and Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2, Episode 10, First Contact is over. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews, and we've got a terrific panel to break down this season's finale. We got first introducing Jaemeel Robinson. How you doing tonight, Jaemeel?
As best as have I've been for the last week and change.
Yes, you've been a little bit under the weather, but now hopefully above the weather. And we have Davan Skelhorn from Locutors of Trek with us. Ritos. He's going for the Ritos. He's rocking it, and how can you blame him? And I'm back after a 1 week hiatus as I was away last week on Risa. Jeff Mader not here this week as he is it's his turn to be on Risa. So
seeking
Jamaharan perhaps. And all of that. And but the show goes on, and we will be talking about this season finale. We will also be doing, after this, presumably in about a week or so, we'll be doing a season 2 deep dive with some of our other Live Long and podcasters, including Jody Simpson and others, just to hear about what they thought of the season, maybe round out our ratings and breaking it all down. But, just coming off of last week, I got to say, I really loved the last episode, Wejdouj. I know that Jaemeel gave it a 10. I have to kind of go back and kind of figure out what everyone else gave that one. Maybe when we get to those ratings, but I really enjoyed that one too. I got to tell you, I even went back and pulled sounds from that episode that I thought were particularly good, including the one where it was,
You think I had time for anything other than resisting? Fighting fascism is a full-time job!
That's right, Shax. Fighting fascism is a full-time job. And there was so much good stuff with that last one, I got to tell you. But we're here to talk about first contact. Let's go to Jaemeel first. Jaemeel, how did you feel about this one? Even compared to last week, which I knew you were super high on.
Yes. So there was always the worry that after such a strong episode that the finale wouldn't be able to live up to the penultimate episode, as they say. And I was pleasantly surprised. Last week I talked about the amount of world building they put forth in terms of Lower Deck and how it seemed to expand the universe. And this is, I think, the first complete story where they did like dramatic action extremely well. The stakes were laid out, and even though watch Star Trek enough times that you know what most likely the ending's going to be, there was enough in terms of its presentation for me to be captivated from beginning, middle, and end.
Yep, good assessment. Okay, over to Cerritos himself, Davan. So how'd you feel about this finale? And I guess in terms of a cliffhanger, we're left with a to be continued.
Let me tell you, fellas, I loved this episode so much that I made a T-shirt out of tape and poured a fancy whiskey. So I'm telling you, this was my favorite episode of the series, not just the season. For me, it had everything a great Star Trek episode has. And not only that, I think it's one of the great first parts of a two-parter in all of Star Trek. I thought it was fantastic, and I can't wait to see what happens in the second half, assuming it's just a two-part. But I get the feeling it's one of those season end or season beginner two-parters because they love the classic tropes.
Captain Freeman has been framed for blowing up Pac-Led Planet. I think it was maybe Captain Janeway.
Wait, hold on a second. We don't know if she's framed or not. Let's let the facts come in first, right? She's been accused, and we're waiting further details, Dave. Let's not jump on one side. We're an impartial team.
Let's be real here. As soon as all the facts come in, Riker did it. Riker's been fighting the Pac-Leds for like this whole season.
As far as I understand, nothing explodes without Shaq's okaying it.
Nothing explodes around here unless I'm the one blowing it up.
Right. So maybe with Shaq's.
Oh my God. So many good Shax lines in this one.
So many good ones. We got a comment here from Jody. He said he was liking this episode. He's hopefully Gomez is going to be the new captain now that Freeman is going to court martial.
Well,
The little nod was funny about how she did something in front of a more intimidating captain.
Yeah, and like and on that, like that note,
And my old friend Captain Sonia Gomez.
they're old friends, Captain Freeman and Captain Gomez, who we have not seen since the second season episode of Next Generation, which was Samaritan Snare. That was the introduction of the Packlids, and that was kind of the end of Sonia Gomez. But they did bring back the same actor from who originally portrayed Sonia Gomez, whose name I don't have right handy.
Lycia Naff.
Lycia Naff, yeah. So she's back, and so that episode would have taken place in like 2368 or so, and this is 2381. So she made captain pretty quick. She went from ensign to captain in about 14 years. So
I thought it was pretty quick too. Yeah, especially 14 years after spilling hot chocolate on Picard.
Yeah, you think that would go in the permanent record, considering how long was like Worf a lieutenant and how long was like George or like Data a lieutenant commander, pretty much his entire run. He never he was about to
Harry and Ensign.
Harry and Ensign, but Gomez, she ripped through those ranks.
I think some people deserve where they belong, and others, have more ambition to climb. As we've kind of seen this episode talks about. Some individuals decide to make the choice to stay put, to keep their hand, and others decide to, fold and get a new hand handed to them. Like, so Freeman decided not to take her promotion and decide to stay with the Doritos. Other captains might have felt otherwise. It's like saying, Riker was a commander for how long before becoming a captain.
Yep.
Some of it's his own design.
That was because he wasn't in a hurry to leave the Enterprise, either version that he served on. And so here, but Gomez back, a deep plug, and I thought it was interesting that they incorporated her into this episode in a meaningful way. Sorry,
I was just gonna say it kind of make sense that she did get to captain so quick in a way, whereas we never really got to know much about why she was on the Enterprise, but she was on the flagship really young, so she was probably some sort of hot shot she
was an expert in something or other. That's why Geordi hired her in the first place, or why he got her that assignment more specifically. And then Jeremy said, if you want to attain a rank, you spill coffee on people. That's how you get noticed.
Yes, Ensign, it's all over me.
All over me, Ensign. Yeah, so she's back. They're old friends, and but Admiral Freeman here, he says, "Well, you've got that's his name, right? Admiral Freeman." Her husband. He's like, "Yeah, I've got some news. And it looks like she's being either promoted to admiral or at least be given command of a capital ship." That's sort of like the premise of the setup here of the episode, which gets sort of hinted at. It's overheard by whoever hears it. Mariner hears it, and she spills it immediately to Ransom and the rest because she doesn't like this idea of having to break in a new captain. But it also turns out, she also has kind of gotten used to serving with her mother.
She breaks it to the lower deckers first, all right, and then takes Bormuller's idea to express it to Ransom and the bridge crew.
Right. Yeah. So there's a few things going on here where they were not so happy, but once they got up to the bridge about it, so she heard Freeman telling them she goes and she tells Tendi and Boimler and Rutherford about it because Boimler was preparing for Captain Freeman Day, which was a reference to Captain Picard Day, which is here's a little shot of that. as getting things ready. Now, this is something normally the toddlers on the ship would participate in, but Boimler was all over it. And
why is there
this is
kids
where
on their Cerritos?
I don't. Yeah,
It's not
there's
like
all
it's the
kinds of.
flagship.
There's kids on the Cerritos. there's dolphins apparently on the Cerritos working in a lab. There's all kinds of things. There's
Well,
more
they
of the
have
Cerritos.
cetacean labs exist in Star Trek. The Titan has one. Apparently there's a couple or a few cetacean sentient species in Starfleet.
There you go. They got a few cetacean species. I don't know how they work those controls with those fins, but they find a way.
They're
And,
Frisky
focused.
cetacean species. No.
They're fin focused.
they're fin focused first, much like the Zindi aquatics. And what else with this? Yeah, sorry. Just on that. Yeah, like so. There's this whole setup here. She comes like, Captain Freeman's getting a promotion. And the fact. So Boimler kind of says, well, everyone's gonna be pissed when they find out, and she goes, oh, good, because she's hoping to sabotage this. She doesn't really want to see her mother leave the ship. Or at least she doesn't want to have to deal with a new authority figure and a different captain she doesn't know. Maybe a bit of both. And meanwhile, Tendi gets called by Dr. Tiana to her office, and she's always wondering if her boss is mad at her. And Rutherford and Tendi are kind of like, or Rutherford's like, don't worry about it so much. She's just that's how she is.
Malfunctioning Rutherford.
Yes.
A malfunctioning, getting pop-up ads constantly in his thing because he's got too much redundant memory apparently. He's backing up. He's got backups of the backup. And meanwhile, this is where Ransom was socializing with Billups and Shax, which I thought was funny, where they're like, well, yeah, because Billups can't talk to women, and they're like, the waitress has to talk to you. So therefore, you're kind of reading too much into it, Billups. But that's before Mariner shows up, and she's like, wants to tell them. And then we have the disembarking of the two ships. So Captain Gomez's ship is called the Archimedes. Davan, I know you. Well, actually, you're both fans of ships, so but we'll start with maybe with Davan. Davan, the Archimedes, looking like a big, beefier Excelsior class ship, I would say.
Yeah, it does look like some sort of Excelsior refit. Or I don't know what else it would be.
Alcibiades, is that Hercules's brother or?
No, Archimedes, the Greek scientist and
what is
astronomer.
Greek astronomer is from of legend.
Yeah, and they kind of kept that theme going because the shuttle was the Adonis. See.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah. So they continue.
They got a Greek theme going on that ship. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so the whole thing that was also kind of set up by Gomez was like, yeah, well, in your new promotion, you're not going to be able to take your staff with you or any of the officers that you want to serve with. You're going to, California class ship people, they stay in California class. So is this where they send the riffraff of Starfleet, Jaemeel? Is that what we're led to believe?
No, it's just a different class altogether. They said the excuse was they want continuity on a lot of these ships, so they're not going to just take everyone like the bridge crew for a California class and put them on a Galaxy class starship or another type of vessel. That's a different type of skill set that might be involved, and might not all the pieces might fit exactly. There's going to be a breaking in period, whereas just changing captains might be a little bit easier in terms of the changeover.
Okay. Did you understand maybe why the senior staff was a little bit annoyed that they were kind of like not told right away, or did you agree with Freeman's choices to sort of break it to them at the right time?
Well, I think that I think that benefit should have been given to she should have been given the benefit of the doubt that she would have been able to explain it in a more reasonable time, maybe even after this mission, right? Probably just before Captain Freeman Day, have a conversation where she brings everyone in and kind of breaks it to them slowly. Having it sprung onto people doesn't really give a chance for her to present the information in, an appreciative manner. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. Unfortunately, I tried to put recommendations for all of you to come over. Wasn't able to happen. I'm going to make sure that a good captain comes over and you all are able to work well. It could have been presented a lot better, as opposed to Mariner's kind of pointed attack. It was presented in a negative light from the get-go. So there was no ability to have it presented in a positive manner.
Shax is an open book. He would have told him.
No, and if there was an update, I would tell you. I wouldn't keep that information to myself. I'm an open book.
Could I bring this back to the ship for a second?
Yes.
Sure.
Because all the straight jabs and backhanded compliments people always make towards the California class on this show is pretty hilarious. But there's been now 3 references to the fact that the Cerritos, and maybe even the California classes in general, but maybe just the Cerritos, is possibly faster than all of the other ships in Starfleet. It's been now, for one, the first one was Tom Paris, who says he hears those old California classes are really sweet on the stick or something like that. I don't
Those
know.
Cali classes, as he would call them.
Yeah.
And Billups would agree.
Oh, that's such fucking bullshit. We are just as good as any other fucking class. Our warp core is twice as fucking fast as any other ship in the fleet.
Whoa!
Exactly. And in the same episode, when Rutherford and Tendi are in the engineering, they're looking at the warp core. And they're just like, small ship, but such a big warp core. So I wonder if that's going to come into play, where like it's just a super fast ship for some reason.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Finish the ship talk, because I have something I would like to go back onto.
That was it. That was my ship talk, because I was a little confused because they get bashed a lot for a ship that is maybe the fastest in the fleet. But we'll see.
Maybe twice. The warp core is twice as fast, according to Billups, and Boimler loves that warp core.
What an impressive feat of engineering.
Yeah. Ritos. Alchemini.
Archimedes?
What's the name of the ship?
Archimedes.
Okay.
It's the Archimedes.
Okay. Alchemini is Hercules' mother. That's where the pronunciation I got wrong.
Go on.
Also a good name for a ship.
No, I'm just saying, where I got it wrong was Alchemini is Hercules' mother.
Okay, yeah. Well, it'd be a fine name for a ship as well.
No, I thought that's where I got mistaken. The names are similar.
He was just pulling from Greek myth instead of Greek fact, I guess.
Okay, but I think we talked about the whole, there's this whole kind of tension among the senior staff in particular for not knowing about Captain Freeman's departure and promotion. And then we have this other plot line with Tendi and Dr. Tiana that's continuing, where she's talking to Nurse Westlake, and she's saying that Tendi's not cut out for medical, deleting her from the medical roster. So Tendi is thinking, I'm cut. I'm getting fired. I'm getting dropped out of Starfleet. I'm leaving the Cerritos. So she goes off. And we kind of jump back and forth a little bit between those plot lines, but we can maybe stay on the Tendi storyline for a minute. What did you guys think of this one? It was definitely a continued romantic vibe between Rutherford and Tendi through this. They kind of go on a little. He's like, well, if that's what's going on, then I'm going to take you on a tour through the ship, and we're going to go to all your favorite places, which she goes for.
I love the Cerritos too.
They both love the.
I love the Cerritos too.
Yeah, we all love the Cerritos, right? The Cerritos.
Did I just say that this episode especially proved to me that this show does pretty much everything better than its contemporaries, being Discovery and Picard. Like even romance, like any romance they tried to introduce into Picard and Discovery was painstaking to watch, basically.
Yeah,
whereas
I would agree that this one has been much more.
This was really nice. I feel like this, really organic and really sweet, and even like the surprise sort of little possible romance at the end of this episode, I thought was really nice. This kind of came out of nowhere, but I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But
I don't buy this as a romance per se, but a very close friendship.
It could be that as well, and I'd be fine with that as well. But either way, the way they're doing it is really nice.
I will say that you're right in your statement, but I think they do relationships better than the contemporaries, as opposed to like a romantic relationship. Like you look at all the relationships, right? Even Mariner and Freeman as a relationship could have been just back and forth bickering the entire time, but we're able to see the heart progress and their closeness evolve over the course of 2 seasons. Can we say the same for many of the characters in Discovery? Like even Tilly and uh, uh, main girl. Sorry, I can't remember her
Burnham.
name. Burnham, right? I think that relationship would do a miracle to that show if it was given the lower decks treatment in terms of being developed and uh, grown over the course organically over a couple of episodes, as opposed to we're friends now. It kind of felt like in Discovery we're gonna be friends, right?
And same with any
Decided.
character on Picard under the age of 30.
True. Yeah,
Yes.
running around in their socks in a Borg cube, maybe. Yeah, but whether this turns romantic or not, I agree that it's kind of not really the point, but they're each other's kind of number one in terms of the show. And I found it quite endearing. I think the fact that there was this whole arc with Rutherford, he had his implant ripped out, he didn't remember anything, and there was this whole reset to this season. And here we are 10 episodes later and kind of going, yeah, these two have, she remembered everything from before, but for Rutherford, it was a reset. And I thought it was really well done in terms of that. And then conversely,
Very sweet.
we have this other storyline. I guess it's really the mother-daughter continuing, right? It's the Freeman and Mariner, because Freeman kind of chews her out for like, why'd you tell everybody about me leaving? Why do you sabotage everything? You sabotage yourself, you sabotage me. Why are you like this? What's with this behavior? And this continues throughout the episode, kind of culminating on the yacht, maybe even afterwards too. Where's that clip?
What are you trying to prove? You already got the promotion.
Get off my yacht!
Get off my yacht! Get off my yacht! Mariner claiming to be a Kirk-style free spirit.
Because I'm a Kirk-style free spirit who kicks butt and it super intimidates people.
Yes. So, Jaemeel, you've been sort of maybe mixed on their relationship as it's been portrayed throughout the 2 seasons. How did like sort of this installment work or not work for you in the overall plot?
I think it did a pretty good job of tying up a lot of loose threads that we've seen throughout the episodes, and this was literally their time to kind of talk openly and freely to each other, and we got a lot of information about how we've seen them even in the previous episode with them having that conversation where they're having a mother-daughter talk while playing a game. I don't know exactly the name of the game they were playing last episode, but you see that there is a relationship that is pretty strong there, and the conflict has come in where it threatens to break them apart, especially from Mariner's point of view, because she finally has something there that she'd never had before with her parents, and she is hurt, and she wants to hurt back, and that's why she does what she does, right? And we can understand why she does it because of how things have built up in terms of Mariner being presented as a character throughout this particular season as well, of how hurt she was when Bormiller left as well.
Right. She wants to kind of keep people where they are, and she doesn't want to lose people. That seems to be her greatest fear. Davan, anything more on this sort of how this was progressing in this episode with Mariner and Freeman?
I thought it was like Jaemeel said, a nice kind of tie up of some of the loose ends. I like when she was just like, I was kind of angry too, but I love you.
Yeah.
But did anyone? Did you guys kind of catch the possible DS9 reference with Rutherford and his 3 backups of all his memories?
Redundant system.
Well, it's like in DS9.
Is that what it was?
where
Yes, because there's a whole
O'Brien is
argument with
working
O'Brien.
that Cardassian, and he's
That's
just like, well, I
right.
wouldn't want to be caught without a second backup.
Backup in a pinch, I wouldn't
She's
want.
just like, why are you
she's-
guys so redundant? He's just like, well, in a pinch, you'd want a second backup. Come on.
Yeah, when I'm in
It's like-
space, I would rather not have that kind of thing. Yeah,
But like he takes it one further and has a third backup. I thought that was possibly a reference there. It made me laugh.
Yeah, and her question was like, "What are the chances of the primary and the backup and the backup? Oh, the backup to the
It's
backup."
like, well,
all
not very
failing?"
good.
Not very high.
I love that.
I work
scene.
for Cisco,
Those
man.
two had
You
great
gotta get off
chemistry.
my case. The emissary. All right, back to the plot though. So there's So the mission that the two ships are gone on, and I was a little bit unclear. I'm still kind of trying to understand that the Archimedes was sent on this first contact mission to the Lapuria, which is this new planet, and the Cerritos is sort of a backup ship, or is providing support. In what way, I'm not sure. Or what the original intent was. But what happens?
How I gathered that was because Freeman was getting this promotion. They're giving her first contact, hence the name of the episode. So I think it was just her introduction to a first contact because she's only ever done second contacts. But they want to supervise her first contact.
This is like a
sort of
buddy
thing.
system.
That's how I gathered it. Yeah.
I kind of felt a little bit differently. I thought the first ship would do the initial first contact and kind of a lot of the ceremonial stuff, and then they would peace out, and the Cerritos would take care of the actual logistics, not the second.
But that's second contact.
The second contact is more the infrastructure portion of it, from what I understood. Like they were supposed to come do the initial like greetings, and then like say, "Hey, we got another ship coming in." And they're gonna party because they said the ceremony is still gonna happen, right? And you're gonna be a part of the ceremony, but we didn't want both ships coming in at the same time. That's what I kind of understood. So it's kind of like yours, but just like more this ceremonial part, the initial part, and it's just like, hey, I got my friend. Have you met Ted? Here's Ted, and then.
They're like, we're not going to insult you by sending a California class.
Yeah, I know Cali class, but sorry, what is that? Is it Red Alarm?
Red alarm. Red alarm.
Red alarm.
We have the Lapurian sun, though. It has an unexpected solar flare, and
God, this episode's awesome.
And so the Archimedes is caught in this. They're complete. I don't know. There's what is it? Inert plasma or ionic plasma or something like that. And so the Archimedes is completely disabled. They're just spiraling in on a collision course for the planet, which will destroy the population of the planet. The Cerritos is also kind of damaged, but not as badly because they were further away and they kind of saw this coming a little bit, but they can't just quite follow the Archimedes because they're what was happening here, Davan? I think you're probably better to track this because something with the ionic radiation and their hull wouldn't work. And so
yeah, well, basically it had a reaction to any of their power systems and it would draw all the fragments to them. So that's what happened to the Archimedes. Like all those fragments were drawn towards it. It just wasn't like a random happenstance of being in the way. And then the same thing would happen to the Cerritos if they went in there.
Yeah.
So they had to power down.
The radiation itself was like a EMP, which wiped up their abilities to even perform various functions at all. So that's why they couldn't just restart the ship or use the shuttlecraft to, move the ship or assist in moving the ship. Outside of life support, it seemed everything else was down.
Yeah, and so there's a couple ideas thrown out here, but like Billups points out that if a piece of radiation the size of a pomegranate hits the shields, they'll have a blackout just like them, and they can't use the deflector dish because Freeman's like, we have a deflector dish. Doesn't that deflect?
They can't warp through it, like Kayshawn says, and everyone just loses it.
Come on!
They're just like,
What do you mean warp through it?
We just like warp around. They're like, come on, man, we can't do that. I don't know why that was.
Like,
that was not...
We're just spitballing here. Like, what? We're just throwing ideas out.
They could have explained it and said that it was so far-reaching that the time it would have taken to get around it effectively would have taken too long. They could have said that, maybe.
Maybe, but I don't even think that was the case. I think that's just more like
a Star
dig.
Trek logic, yes.
Yeah. Oh, Davan, watch that ice. And then
Oh shit! Sorry.
with the so Freeman kind of decides to go on the captain's suicide mission here. She's like, I'm gonna get in my yacht, get off my yacht, and Mariner follows her, and this is secretly where Rutherford and Davan are eating ice cream apparently, and so there's kind of this whole argument here about who they are and the fact that she's not as Kirk things, and Freeman says you're not just confident. All you're consistent about is getting into fights and being defensive with people, and then this is when Rutherford comes in and goes, that's what you should do. We should drop our defenses and remove our that's my my Rutherford. Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
And they're like, we take off our hull, our outer hull, that will take off the magnetic shielding, and therefore the inner hull would keep us intact. And this kind of a really interesting idea here. And so they run the plan by Billups, and he's like, yeah, this could work. We just take off basically the skin of the ship piece by piece, and then we can follow the Archimedes and save them in time. So that's kind of what they all get to. But sadly, it does cancel ballroom dancing.
Oh, and the ballroom dancing competition will have to be postponed.
Yeah. Were you guys bummed out about that? They looked pretty bummed out.
Dancing in the Stars?
No.
Yes. But I thought it was I thought that the whole
I loved the hull removal thing. That's one of the coolest ship related things we've seen in Star Trek. It's like cooler than the Enterprise D separating the saucer section. And the fact that it took the whole crew working at it to get them all removed in time was awesome. Loved it. And the way the Cerritos looked stripped down, also super cool. I would like a model like that.
I just want
maybe of the Defiant.
I love the Cerritos. I have for a long time now, and no one can tell me otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. Right, we love the Cerritos, Cali class or not, or maybe especially because, and there's just the whole the whole thing with Freeman. We are Starfleet and we never back down.
But we are Starfleet and we never back down from a challenge.
Cerritos strong. So Cerritos strong. Shaq saying nothing. We got to move all the munitions to the interior of the ship. Nothing explodes out here without me blowing it up.
Nothing explodes around here unless I'm the one blowing it up.
Right. And I agree that the whole thing was really amazing. Like we've been talking about how like the action and like the visuals on the outside of the ship have been really good. The animation and the integration of that all season long, even compared to first season, has been great. And they're all coming together here. And so there's one last panel though that has to get pulled off here. And it's Billups is on the outside trying to get it released. But they're like, who is it? Ransom's like, man, we gotta go. And she's like, okay, well, we're gonna have to do this on the fly. And Ransom is flying the ship with the joystick throughout this whole section here, which is kind of like a bit of a nod to Star Trek Insurrection and Riker flying it.
Because the captain hasn't flown anything in like decades. Though has the Hydra Scoot record.
Yeah,
has the Hydra Scoop record from the Academy. Yeah, that was the thing when she was going to take the yacht, and Mariner's like, "You can't even fly a ship anymore. Come on, like
this is not a Hydro Scoot."
Yeah, it wasn't going to work. And
how about Mariner smuggling Romulan ale? More contraband to that Mariner.
Yeah, and Jennifer doesn't even care.
Whatever, Jennifer.
Whatever, Jennifer.
You gotta have that sound clip.
Oh, I do.
What do you want, Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer. And I also have some snarky Jennifer quotes here. I think too. JK, where is she? Jennifer.
What are you doing? Yoga.
Wow, how unique.
I love those two so much.
I like their little rivalry, but they kind of made that up in the episode as well. Oh, here they are. Yeah, look at that. That's not somebody who's happy to see
Side eye. Look at
Are
that.
you gonna
side
tell
eye.
the
that side.
ransom that I have all this contraband again? She's like, I don't
like-
think about you at all. This is such a good insult. Like, whatever. You probably dream about me.
Yeah, I've been through that where I think my nemesis thinks about me more than I think they actually do. Yeah, and so there's the whole thing with the Rutherford and Tandy. The implant is starting to impede his vision. We kind of talked about how he was having the backup of the backup. And Billups kind of scanned him when they were taking off the hull and saying, well, this is why your memory is filling up so fast. So he ultimately decides to purge that. But we get a little bit of I guess it's a bit of a foreshadow because I feel like this is a plot line they're going to re-explore somewhere down the line. But we see that where is he here? That Mr. Rutherford there might be more to this than we think with his implant.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking sweaty. He should probably get in the water with that hot bod.
Yes.
Well, because once he does like purge the memory, he gets like this whole like kind of flashback, and what happens, like they say like, well, they're gonna think it's voluntary or something and whatever, and I don't know. It happened very quickly, but and I only got to see it once so far. But there's something to this implant. There's some kind of nefarious secret plot.
It looks like
I think it's the Romulans because he thinks it's a Vulcan implant, and I just think the Romulans would just program that it's Vulcan. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on.
It looks like a third party has somehow was manipulating either his implant or himself somehow, and that was what we were seeing, the installation possibly or maintenance of said whatever the manipulation is. So that was the second curious thing that I seen this episode.
That was the second curious thing. But
Yes.
did you find and let me just pull it up. Did you find the what are their names here? Oh, sorry. Takes me a second to find it sometimes. Here he is. Or she, I'm not sure. We meet our dolphin officers. We have Kimalu. And Matt. Those were the two, Kimalu and Matt. They're both lieutenants.
Was it Matt?
Yeah, Kimalu and Matt. And they're like, hey, we need to release that because they need their help to release the last hull plating that Billups was working on. It needs to be released underwater. The dolphins can't do it themselves because it's not designed for fins, and they get very.
They were so mad about that.
They were so mad about the suggestion. They're not happy about it. And there's, she was going to do it, but there was this whole, like, she gets called out by Tandy and Rutherford, I think, at one point. They're like, you're just in a fight with your mother on a suicide mission. You do this all the time. Cut it out. We don't have time for your bullshit anymore. Like, sometimes what we're all thinking as the audience, we're just like, come on, man.
Don't wait till the end of the episode. Apologize now. We got this. Don't worry.
Yeah. Can we just get this over with and we can move on? They're like, she's like, oh, okay. And so there's
another what the audience is thinking moment later as well.
Yeah.
Right.
With Ta'ana.
So Mariner's like, okay, I'm gonna go reconcile with my mother, and then so this means like basically Boimler has to, right? Like Boimler has to be the one to swim down and do it all. He drops in. He's escorted by Kimalu and Matt, as shown here, at least one of them. And meanwhile, we'll come back to them. Meanwhile, Ransom's continuing to fly the ship. Mariner enters. They have a hug. There's this whole kind of makeup between Freeman and Mariner. And Freeman admits she was being a bit of a jerk as well. Orders Mariner to help navigate what the view screen was near Jennifer. And Mariner says Boimler is taking care of the hull thing. And back down in the cetacean ops, Boimler is struggling with the clamps, but finally he managed to dissolve the panel. And as it's freed and Freeman has to cut the power, the Cerritos enters the debris field. Boimler is happy he was successful, but quickly realizes that he was dislodged and his EV suit has been compromised, and he's quickly flooding with water. He has to remove his helmet. He swims up as fast as he can, but he gets caught before he can leave the hydro tube, and he loses consciousness. There was also a whole part. Wasn't there a whole part where also Mariner got sucked out into space for a bit or something? Who saved her?
So Mariner and Jennifer were on either side of the view screen, and they were calling out.
Which they removed. There was no view.
Yeah, where the view screen used to be,
Yeah.
because Ransom got to do it old school, right?
Yeah.
And he had to do it by eye, and they were calling out anything that was coming outside of the peripheral vision of the screen area would be, and what happened was there was a hit, and Mariner flew out into space, and Jennifer, the kindness of her heart, went and did a spacewalk and grabbed her and saved her from oblivion.
Thank you, Jennifer. Way to go.
Space isn't cold to an Andorian.
No, I like how Jennifer also had like in her EV suit. She had little things for her antenna. I like that. I like she has to get the Andorian variant helmet.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So
You should get
the part of the finale here is or the third act at least is Ransom he's flying the ship after they've saved Mariner, but Tendi and Rutherford are still in the lab. Boimler hasn't come up, and then Kimalu and Matt, our dolphin friends, they're able to bring up Boimler, but he's unconscious. So this kind of throws it to Tendi, who this might be her last act as a medical officer, as far as she knows. And so she has to perform CPR because it's basically like an episode of Baywatch. And
his blowhole is broken.
His blowhole is broken, according to Kimalu. And
Keep
Matt.
him wet. Don't let him dry out. They were great. I gotta see where like Matt and Keanu.
That was so great.
They're
what would
awesome.
a dolphin say? Like that was what they were asking themselves in the writing room. It's like, what would a dolphin say in this situation? Tell him dry out. He got his blowhole figured out here.
It's great.
Yeah. Right. And then after he's kind of saved, there's still kind of like all this action sequence. Ransom's piloting the ship still. They're going through the debris. There's this big piece that they have to get through. We kind of talked. Yeah, that was after that. This is where she gets sucked out into space and brought back in. But then the Archimedes, like there was that whole, like, I guess there was a couple scenes with the Archimedes with Sonia Gomez and her first officer. I couldn't figure out where he was from, but he had a pretty distinct accent.
Jamaican accent.
Was it Jamaican?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've been talking. They and she was like, you know what, we gotta be calm about this. There's nothing we can do but wait for
I liked her calm demeanor. She's like, okay, enough impending doom, let's get to work. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. It's like, oh, you've been at this for hours, you should take a rest. I'll rest it a couple of hours. In a couple of hours we'll be, oh, I see what you did there. There's a couple of good lines, I think, and back and forth I thought was pretty interesting. And if she is the new captain, I welcome what possibly she might bring to the colorful cast of characters we already have. I think they would be able to play off each other pretty well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if they keep her beyond this appearance.
She would have to get a demotion down to a Cali class, though, so I don't really see that happening.
Well, until they're retrofitting her ship, she could be stepping in for an episode.
Kind of like Pike
until
did
Freeman's back.
Yeah. Okay. Question here from Captain RGD. Do you think Lower Decks will have a book series in the future? Jaemeel, you want to
Lower
tackle
Books?
this one?
Yes.
Lower Books?
Yes. So there was the conversation about, would they have books? What type of books? Would it be a novel? Would it be a comic book? Comic book seems less likely just because of the current state of comic books. Let's say if Lower Decks was extremely popular in in Asia, then having a manga series doesn't seem out of the normal. But a Western comic book, no, I doubt it. It takes a while for a comic book to come out, and a lot of the effort's not really worth it. Novels, yes, definitely, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see one shortly. And I actually hope they do audiobooks too. Get the cast to join up and
yeah.
I would love that.
What cast is better suited than this cast for it? Yeah, no. So Davin, you think books and comic books could be in the future here?
I see what Jameel's saying, but if I was to guess, just because it's animated, I would guess that there would be a comic book first, just because Rick and Morty has one, and I know it's like a lot of the same people behind the show. There's a Rick and Morty comic. I don't know how many people buy it or whatever, but they make it, and I could just see them doing the same with Lower Decks, because also the Star Trek does a lot of these prequel comics anyway, just for the Picard series, and Discovery gets them, and I think Strange New Worlds is getting prequel comics. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if they feel like they need a story to build up a season or fill in some storyline, I could see none of it happening for Lower Decks as well.
Well, I think, well, if not in the near future, I could see it being down the road, certainly. But let's get back to the story. So basically, we were kind of at the end of the action there in terms of the plot, because it was just before the Archimedes was about to crash in. Captain Gomez says she's going to miss those nacelles, but just in time, it's the Cerritos. They have arrived, and they've put a tractor beam on the Archimedes, and all is well. The day is saved. And later, the senior staff in the Cerritos, including Freeman, Mariner, Ransom, and Shax, they all beam down. They meet with the Lapirians, and they get to really be part of that first contact. Mariner commends her mother. There's kind of a real hug, and they all have drinks together. We see Freeman's pretty drunk after all this. She had a good time. This meant a lot to her. In sickbay, though, Tendi was treating some people who have been hurt by the debris field or whatever, and Dr. Tiana calls her over, and she says, I know I don't belong in sickbay. And she goes, you're right. You master anything you do. It's unsettling, she tells her. And she surprises Tendi by saying that I'm moving you from medical to science. She goes, what, like Jadzia Dax? And she goes, I don't know who that is. Like Spock, you idiot.
Such a great line.
I don't know who that is. That's the other nod to the audience, I felt like, because Boimler and Mariner know everything that goes on every ship that we've seen on Star Trek, basically.
Yeah, they always know.
Just
they
to
always
poke fun
know
at that, they're like, well, how would I know who Jadzia Dax is? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but they know about Armus, the skin of evil, or whatever.
Yeah, they know about Armus.
All kinds of things.
Okay, I gotta defend that. If you had someone who died during an away mission, a bridge member, on the flagship ship, I
15
figured
years ago.
Sure enough, Armus is
figured,
maybe a bad example.
I just figure if someone died on Manchester United 12 years ago in some freak accident, I think that would be news to pop culture, as opposed to the best team in Australia having a tragedy. I think that's different.
Maybe, but this is also a crew that kind of shrugged off Shax coming back from the dead, as well.
Because the mountain, man.
You don't know about the Black Mountain?
Black Mountain.
Yeah. So okay, but what do you think about Tendi going? So that seems to be where they want to put her in season 3 now, is put Tendi into a science officer role. They haven't. We don't really have a science officer on this ship, do we? Yet.
I think it's a good idea for that reason.
Right, because I think just between Dr. Tiana and Tendi, there's not a lot to go on there. Just like there was it was kind of like with the Doctor and Kess back on Voyager, because they were kind of in that doctor nurse kind of role. And I think it just kind of you get it kind of, I don't know, doesn't seem to work forever. It is maybe
or Crusher and Ogawa.
Right, but yeah, how interesting of a character was Ogawa, Was Tasha that important? Well, she's the mother of Sela, Empress, or Admiral Sela.
I thought the science role was going to be...
She was important to Worf and Riker.
Wait, was Tasha that important?
All yours, Jaemeel. You want to tackle that one?
She is the head of security on the flagship ship of the Federation.
For
she was
8 months.
Center. She was the goalkeeper for Manchester United. Sure, the strikers get all the fame, like Picard and Riker, but she's still an integral part of the crew. She's in the starting lineup.
The
Here's my
ultimate rags
question,
to
though.
riches story.
Not on Tashiar. But here's my question about this whole move of moving Tendi to the science division. Okay, because I got into I'm big on the canon, Jaemeel.
Non-important, but still continue.
And the uniforms, right? And there's this whole debate in the Star Trek community about the lower decks uniforms of, in particular, the science division. Because there was like the new uniforms that came, because on in Star Trek Online, you can buy the different uniforms for your character and you can customize it. Now, there was what you can see there, the white boots on Tendi there. Now, the whole when they put out the official thing, they said no, everyone gets black boots. I go, no, that's not right. Canon says science division on this California class uniform is white boots, right? And now, but they were like, no, there was one frame from the first episode of season 1 where you see a science officer wearing black boots for a minute. And so the argument is that these white boots are specific to the medical officers, not to the more generic science officers. Are you excited to find out the answer?
No, but
very much so.
But in Discovery, wasn't the medical staff wearing all white, including white shoes?
And white, yeah, like in Discovery, and we even see this in the uniform update they've done for season 3, or again to season 3 and for season 4. Yes, they've made like the white color sort of the official medical division, like so it's kind of like the 4th color in the palette. Which is not unprecedented because during the whole Wrath of Khan era, like that, the medical division had their own color. It was green. It was separate from the science division, which was gray. And even in the original series, like there was sometimes where McCoy would still wear the blue, but it might have like the medical symbol sort of in the Starfleet Delta, or you might like sometimes medical and science are kind of wrapped up and bundled together, and sometimes they're split apart in terms of their uniform design.
What would you prefer? A separate color, a separate color for medical and science, or the same color but a differentiator, like a medical logo in the Delta?
I think the latter. I would prefer, let the science of it, because medicine and science, it makes sense that they're kind of together. I always thought that if anybody should be separated by color, it's the engineering officers and the security officers, who always get bundled together for some reason as operations. But I go, like, they're pretty different. They don't seem to need to wear the same uniform. Anyway, but I'm curious to see what if Tendi's boots will change in season 3. Watch out for it if you're into the uniforms. All right. If I'm sure most people are not.
That was the to be continued.
That's the to be continued of this episode, more than anything.
Yes.
All right, but back to
I'm running attendees boots. Cold. You guys want to get in on that?
Yeah, we're running a pool. What color will Tendi's boots be once she goes to science? I think they're going to stay the same.
I think they're going to be black.
You think they're going to turn black? We're going to see.
Yeah, white boots for medical makes sense because it's like the non-combatant, right? It's like,
right,
as you want the medical officers often where you hear. So in war times anyway.
Right. It was interesting in Star Trek Discovery because in the mirror universe, instead of wearing white, the medical officers wore all red because they want blood all over.
So, it makes sense.
Unless they were probably dealing with Klingons.
Klingon blood runs as reddish pink as ever.
The Cerritos and the Archimedes then are joined at the end here, but because they're helping to put the Cerritos back together. There's a Parliament class ship, an Oberth, a Nova, another California class ship. There's kind of this whole celebration in like the mess hall or whatever. There's the makeup between Mariner and Jennifer. And there's Cerritos
romantic, perhaps dalliance there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I was catching a little romance there.
I wouldn't put it past Mariner for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. In terms of Mariner's relationships that have been established, that it wouldn't be a big of a shock at all.
Yeah, she's
calling
got a
it
lot
now,
of
season 3.
Mariner and Jennifer.
Yeah.
Although it seemed for a second that she was kind of introducing Jennifer to Boimler. And I'm like, oh, that might be.
I like him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got many types.
Great, isn't he?
Warn me if we're gonna be meeting up with a sexy bad boy. That's my type. Well, one of my types. Oh, I'm always dating bad boys, bad girls, bad gender non-binary babes, ruthless alien masterminds, bad binars.
Yeah, she goes for
Bad
them all.
binars.
Bad binars. That's a real bad binar. So yeah, and there's this whole thing like, hey, Starfleet Command's here though, Freeman. Like, you know, she's like, don't worry, I'm not taking the promotion. I'm staying here. But let's just go tell them well. And there's this whole like kind of turnaround here where we meet Commander Mendel, and she thinks it's like
red flag already. It's a commander. Like it's usually an admiral giving you or somebody of higher rank.
It was kind of like, this is weird. And then there's this, she gets put in handcuffs and they say, you are being accused of collaborating with Klingon extremists to destroy Pakled planet with a Veruvian bomb, which had been set up in the previous episode, the one that the Klingon captain had given them to test. They're like, we tested the bomb and now it doesn't work anymore. It's a bomb. You can only use it once. According to that Klingon captain, but they did give them another one before the whole turnaround at the end of the episode 9, and so there she says, you know what? Until we learn more, let's not say anything. You know, she's kind of carried off in disgrace in front of her whole crew, who now don't know what's going on. And this is the they just watch her get taken away, and this is the end. But could it not have been Captain Janeway who was responsible for the destruction of Pakled planet? Because
how many children were on that planet? I think that's the question we would need to ask first and foremost.
The kindergarten, it's gone.
Yeah, like this was an interesting. This was not expected for me. I did not expect. I expected maybe that Freeman are they going to write her out of the show and bring in a new captain for season 3 or something like that. But no, it's that the ongoing thing here. And will she be vindicated? Will she get her ship back? Will there be kind of a resolution there? I care. I care about these characters. I admit it. I love the Cerritos. Right, Tandy?
I love the Cerritos too.
Rito strong.
I think that was the best scene of camaraderie on the main bridge crew that we've seen in the series. Actually, when they put her in handcuffs, and Ransom's just like, "What are your orders, Captain?" And she's just like, "Stand down." And, Shax's just like, "I'll kill you.
I'll kill all of you. I'll blow everything up. I'm the only one who blows up things around here." Yeah, I recommend we detonate the warp core, Captain. We totally have. Shax just wants to.
A guy with obvious and severe, mostly seemingly untreated PTSD, as Shax does, be in charge of weapons.
He's got it under control. He just puts it in the clay.
Take your never-ending bonfire of rage and bury it in the clay. I'm going to fight. I'm going to get revenge. I'm going to make a cute little ashtray for my incense. It's going to look like a puppy.
Ooh, a puppy.
Yeah, that's right.
Put in the clay.
Very nice. Right. Yeah, fair enough.
Question here from Captain RG.
Oh no, we have. Never mind.
Everyone has a problem with what's actually the new Superman, isn't it? Jonathan Kent being bi, but not with Mariner.
Well, okay.
Mariner's pansexual for one thing.
Yeah, that's one thing. And two, the reason why people have a problem with it is because they don't know what they're angry about for the most part. And I talked a little bit about this with Dave yesterday. People are angry about it because they think that the article says Superman is now gay or Superman is now bi, and they have the picture of a Kent kissing another dude. The reality is Clark Kent isn't Superman right now. Jonathan Kent, his son, is Superman in the comic books. Jonathan Kent is the one that has a relationship with his reporter guy friend, right? Yeah. So people say, why can't they make a new character? Jonathan Kent is a new character. It's like, why do they have to take established characters and make them gay? Jonathan is a new character, right? we have a headline that is attention grabbing, and automatically people go into the comments and spill their opinion on an article that they have no idea the context of what it really is about.
Bait.
That's
Bait.
why people are mad. And as for Mariner, the sad truth is not enough people care about Lower Decks. They should, but not enough.
Not enough. Because if they had seen 2 episodes ago with the orgy and the naked time, they would know that was much more risque.
Here's a hot take. Here's a hot take. Any change they could make to Superman would make it a more interesting character.
Yeah. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't disagree. And then Dean Cain chimed in. But hey, that's all about that.
Hey, the greatest Superman ever, Dean Cain.
Dean Cain, like, dude.
I used to love that show.
I have the Lois and Clark New Adventures of Superman, right there on DVD, and that's where my memories of him is gonna stay. We were even making a comment about Kat from the episode because she appeared on Babylon 5. Look, a Babylon 5 reference has now appeared.
Ooh, a Babylon 5
on Lower
reference.
Decks. Look,
is this a Babylon 5 podcast?
Not yet.
Not yet. The truth is, right, our old heroes are old, right? And sometimes we must leave them back there in the past in their glory days and ignore their nonsensical rantings as just rantings, and don't give them the time of day. So Dean Cain, you did a great job in the 90s. Go off to your retirement home. Okay,
I agree with you completely. Yeah, like I liked this show too, but what the actor thinks isn't so important to me. Okay, guys, do you want to get into some ratings? I don't know if we have any trivia other than the title of this was okay. This episode features the return of another legacy character, Sonia Gomez, which we know, played by the original actress Lacia Naff. That she's been promoted to captain and promoted in the non-canon sources, specifically in the series called Star Trek Starfleet Corps of Engineers. Gomez is the first officer of the ship of the Sabre class ship, the U.S. Da Vinci, with the rank of commander. She later becomes the captain of the Da Vinci in the Star Trek Destiny novels. And according to series creator Mike McMahon, who also wrote this episode, the USS Archimedes, which is featured, is an Obena class vessel inspired by the Excelsior, which is still in service but larger with some other changes. And the Obena class is named for art designer Nolan Obena. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Way bigger
also,
engineering
fact
section
about this episode, it's awesome.
It's great, and let's find out how awesome. By rating this out now, Jaemeel, Davan, what did you give last week? I can't. I wasn't.
That was an 8.5, I think.
8.5. Okay, we're gonna go with that. And I'm
Go
giving
ahead last week.
I give last week easily a 9.8. It was really good. I can't remember, and Jeff, I'll have to figure out what he gave it as well. But let's go to first contact. And again, like, this is super strong. Like, there's nothing in this episode I disliked, so I don't know how I can't give it a 10. And so that's where I'm going. We'll get Jeff's rating when he's back, and we go into the deep dive. Jaemeel, where are you going with this?
9.5.
9.5.
And the only reason why I gave it 9.5 is it is a very strong episode, but I think I can't give it a full marks until I see the second part. Right.
Okay, that's fair.
And see where it fits overall, but as a standalone episode, it is a 9.5.
Okay. And Davan, where are you?
10.5.
10.5. All right. Well,
wait. Hold on a second. You can now score over 10.
Okay, we'll have to take him down to 10.
I'm just saying, if that's the case, then I have to rethink my last episode.
Yeah. Calm down.
You know your rebellions will only lead to punitive spiritualism.
Punitive spiritualism was one of my favorite phrases from that episode.
And then my other favorite one was, "It would be my greatest honor."
That would be my greatest honor, sir. Besides dying in battle, that would be my greatest honor.
I thought you would have said the Klingon Vulcan line. We should live long and cower. What was it?
Oh no, I didn't pull that one. No, but
that was a great one. I felt.
yeah, but this one was also good.
I am hungry. You should eat. You are smart.
Red alarm.
Apparently, they didn't have enough red alarms though. If they let their planet get blown up.
Yeah, well, and so I guess this was Regdor that did this, or whatever his name was. I'm like the really the Packlet spy. Where is he here?
I'm a backlit spy.
I fooled you, Janeway.
And your enterprise.
Oh, hi. Are you ready to give us presents?
We tricked you, Janeway. We never wanted peace. Rumdar was a spy. What did you learn, spy? The Enterprise has the biggest bathrooms ever.
It was an airlock, wasn't it?
All right. Okay, and so we're gonna get the ratings. We're gonna, as mentioned, go into a season 2 deep dive as a next step. Get like Jody and some others in here and kind of round out these ratings. But you can see here that overall, in terms of just like the week to week panelists, we're definitely higher on this season across the board. Our ratings are consistently higher. The IMDb scores are consistently higher.
It's a better season.
I think that makes
it's a better
sense.
season. Yeah, and so we're gonna see how that nets out. But yeah, like you can Jeff being probably the biggest turnaround because he was at a 7 for season 1 and an 8.2. We're all above 8 here. So I got to tell you, Lower Decks, one of my favorite Star Trek shows ever. I'm left wanting for more each week. I care about Captain Freeman. I care about this crew, even like Nurse Westlake and Jennifer and these other characters that are just background. The more than I ever cared about some of the Voyager sort of supernumeraries or whatever, and so good on them. Good on Mike McMahon and his crew for making such a terrific show. And speaking of Mike McMahon, like this, I think he typically writes like the first episode and the last episode. That's in terms of like his writing credit. So he was the first and last episode of season 1 and season 2. This is by far for me his best episode, but he definitely finishes stronger. We loved the finale last year. So no small parts. Compared to like again his premiere this year, The Strange Energies, we were kind of like, it's okay, but this finale, French kiss, gotta say, well, way to go, and that's coming off a really strong episode in episode 9 in that Wedge douche, which set up the Klingon Lower Decks and the Vulcan Lower Decks, and I'm sure that Talin and Ma, is that his name? Those two characters in particular are going to be back. They might even, you could even see them being Cerritos characters, maybe at some point too, or they'll just be recurring characters. More likely with Talin, because then she was getting transferred right to a Starfleet vessel.
Yeah. Isn't she a science officer?
She is a science officer, so her and Tendi might be paired up potentially. That could be an interesting. And who would they put Ma with if he ended up on the Cerritos?
Rutherford.
Rutherford. That could be something. Or could this implant that Rutherford has and sort of like its secret origins be sort of tied in with him? I think there's a lot of potential. I think that we talked about how much world building was done last episode, and I think that we're going to continue that. Because I like the Packlets are sort of like they're the antagonist of Lower Decks. And now we
actually you put the Klingon guy up with Shax, and he just finds Shax super intimidating the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Kayshawn. Where's my Kayshawn quotes?
We could just warp around it.
It is hard to lose weight when you can replicate any food you want.
It's true.
Really hard.
Okay. So, hot take time. Lower Decks is so good that I feel like we're possibly losing something in live action Star Trek, because we're now seeing that the storytelling in this animated half-hour format has been stronger in some of the entries we've been seeing for the last 5 years in the live action versions. And if it was possible that we could have had both as animated features, a comedy version and a live action one with strong storytelling and no restraints in terms of special effects or anything or presentation, I would be happier, but I don't think we would ever be able to do that. To have the live action sensibilities, right, be animated.
Be animated. Yeah, I think that Lower Decks is in this really great space, similar to The Simpsons, where they can kind of do, especially early Simpsons,
Okay.
the first 10 seasons, where the golden era, where like they really had this great balance between, you know, it's comedy, it's some of the sharpest, wittiest jokes, it's great references, but then at the end of the day, the characters do care about each other. Talking about the Simpsons family, and in this case, it's the Cerritos family, and I think that that's what I like most about what Mike McMahon's brought to it, because I think that a lot of like the fans' fear, especially in the first season, was, well, you're going to be making fun of this. You're kind of making Star Trek. You're pointing out all the silliness in it, but it is silly a lot of times, and like,
but like a lot of these things are like, people who don't think Star Wars fans are some of the most frustrating fandom I've ever seen, and sometimes they don't see how ridiculous Star Wars is. It is ridiculous, but that's part of it, though. Good storytelling, right, can like not blind you, but you'll look past. You'll be able to delve into the world and be, you'll dive into the story, and you'll be so wrapped up in the story that all the goofiness that could be seen if you look at it very closely, or it's just specific things you look at, would seem ridiculous, right? Same thing with Star Trek fans. I feel a lot of the times we've been the butt of enough jokes that we too can see the ridiculousness of what we love at the same time. So
yeah, I agree completely. Davan, anything to add to that?
But especially when it's done with love, like this show.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All the jabs, the self-referential stuff, and the jabs at the show itself and the fan base and everything. It's all just
even last week when they're making fun of the Vulcans, like, T'Lyn, get a hold of yourself.
T'Lyn, get a hold of yourself. These outbursts will not be tolerated.
Will not be tolerated,
sir.
Yeah, just like, I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I love the show. I'm excited to get more opinions on this second season. I'm even maybe more intrigued to see how this will compare with Star Trek Prodigy, which is the next Star Trek animated series we're going to be talking about starting in 2 weeks. Davan, you and I and Jessica Chan. Looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good.
Let's not put all of our horses on the first season. Give it a chance to find its space legs.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's get and I think that. I think we always have our expectations can never be met for any first season of Star Trek, I think, is kind of the realistic thing, except maybe for the original series, perhaps, because there was no expectations yet. But I'm interested to see how that expands and how they use the animated format, even though it's a different type of animation, more that computer generated 3D look. And then in about a month or so, or I guess it's a little more than a month, we're going to be talking also about Star Trek Discovery Season 4. I'm going to be covering that with Adam Woodward and Michael Chan starting on November 18th. So there's going to be some crossover between Prodigy and Discovery. And again, Star Trek Picard in early 2022 and Picard Strange New World, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I think they wrapped forever ago.
I think they just officially wrapped, finished post-production as well, I think.
Oh, good. Okay, well then, eventually we're getting that show too. So a lot of more Star Trek to come here on Live Long and Podcast. We'll be covering the new episodes. Also, check out on Monday nights. We've been on a mission to watch every original series episode, not in order. We got 5 left. We were on hiatus for a while, but we are coming back this Monday to talk about is in their truth is there no beauty, or is there in beauty no truth? That's what it's called. It's got Dinah Muldaur, who played Pulaski in Star Trek in Samaritan Snare, which we talked about quite a bit tonight, along with Sonia Gomez. So she'll be in that episode playing a different character. So check that out Monday night. We're gonna be a little bit late, 10 p.m. Eastern for that one, as we're coming after my dad's curling game. And then next Tuesday, Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Nine. We talk about every Deep Space Nine episode in order. We're up to season 4, episode 14 or so. And our next episode is Return to Grace, which is going to be a return of Gul Dukat, working with Major Kira to solve the mission of the Klingons attacking some outpost, and he gets the bird of prey, and we get meet Damar for the first time. So we're going to be talking about that on Tuesday night. Those are all the Star Trek shows here on Live Long and Podcast. Plus, we have Star Trek Radio Theater that we've done in the past. We're hoping to get back to that in the fall, doing the script reads and the different reinterpretations. And also check out our other channel, Super Mater Brothers Podcasting, where we talk about stuff that's not Star Trek related, including right now, we're actively talking about Survivor Season 41. Jaemeel and I just did the 4th episode last night. We're doing that every Wednesday. We talked about Big Brother 23, the US version, earlier in the summer. And then before that, we talked about Big Brother Canada 9. We'll be talking about Big Brother Celebrity Edition coming this January. So lots going on over on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. And we do other shows, including Westworld and Tiger King and different things over there. And Trivial Debates, our monthly channel where we argue about movie, TV, sports, and more in a game show format. Check that out. Davan is reigning champion right now, looking to get a panel together for October 31st, which will
That's
be
why they call me
Halloween.
Cerritos.
That's why he's the sir. Talking about that. So we're going to be doing that at the end. And then Davan, over on your podcast channel called Locutors of Trek. I'm going to be coming over to your channel on Sunday to talk about some Star Trek trivia. The Trouble with Trivia.
We got a Trouble with Trivia coming up on Sunday, hosted by Mr. Scott.
Ooh,
And we have a Garrick supplemental coming up really soon. It's going to be really interesting for fans of the original Plain Simple Taylor.
Plain Simple Garrick.
Lots of other things. We just put up some songs there the other day. 3 tunes from the Taylor Shop. So there's lots going on the Locutors of Trek on screen.
Oh,
clever lad.
That's right, Garrick. All right. Well, check out Locutors of Trek. Also, check out my son's podcast. It's called Let's Talk About Fighting Games. You can find that on Spotify, wherever you listen to your audio podcast. If you love video games and things like that. And that's it, guys. Thanks for we're going to be back to talk about the deep dive, but thanks for talking about this episode and being here every Thursday to break down the episodes. This has been great, and we'll get Jeff's rating when he's back, and hopefully he liked this as much as we did, because we gave it a 9.8 average tonight, with 2 10s and a 9.5 from Jaemeel. So that's pretty strong. I think we don't have too much to nitpick in Lower Decks. So
3 10s if you count my 10.5.
Yeah, it balances out Jameel's 9.5. Really, we'll see what Jeff comes in with. Okay, guys. Well, thank you, and live long and podcast. We will see you for the deep dive, and here's my clip to take us away. Where are you?
Live long and prosper.